Hello and welcome back to Books About Yoga reviewed by a yoga teacher. You might hear my cat Oliver. He's very loud today, as usual. Hi Oliver, come in. Come here. He doesn't like being picked up, so he's probably gonna jump off my lap in a second, but hopefully picking him up makes him a little bit less loud. He's so cute, he's so snuggly. Today I'm going to review for you Ana Forrest's memoir. It's called Fierce Medicine, Breakthrough Practices to Heal the Body and Ignite the Spirit. So I just called it a memoir, but she's saying it's a book of practices, and it's actually both. So she intersperses some different practices, whether it's asana practice, meditation practice, breathing practice, ceremony practice. She intersperses that throughout the memoir, but it does sort of follow the trajectory of her life from young childhood to where she was, I suppose, in 2011, which is when the book was first published. Ana Forrest, I knew her as that lady who wears the gloves, because if you see her in photos, she's almost always wearing these gloves, I guess because she does a lot of balancing on her hands. I've been trying for forever to figure out if she is Indigenous or not, because she, I think, is named Ana Forrest, like forest as in like she took on that name, but I'm not sure. I can't find that out. And she does a lot of Native American inspired ceremony and practice. I actually took her class at one of the Wanderlust festivals in Hawaii a couple years ago, and I didn't really have anything bad to say about it necessarily, but I also didn't really have anything good to say about it. It just wasn't for me. She had a guy with her. I don't know what their relationship was, and he was like playing drum and like going all around. They were very theatrical. There was a lot of intensity and body movement and intense way of saying things, and they had us do eagle crunches on our back for like 10 full minutes. It was super intense. And in the book, she talks about how she thinks of heat as this purification system, which is traditional within yoga to have that perspective. But she also rails against what she calls yoga naps a lot. So I'm guessing that means like restorative yoga. And I really disagree with that. I think that there's more than one way to process energy. And I do think that yoga naps or shavasana or restorative or yin yoga, yoga nidra, what have you, I think that there's a time and a place for those as well. So I disagree with her that the only way to process and engage and heal is through intensity and movement. I just disagree with that. So I haven't really said whether I liked this book or not. I feel really torn about it. Like I said, I can't figure out if she's Indigenous or if she has just been sort of like adopted by some tribes, Native American tribes. There's definitely a fine line between appreciating and incorporating cultural practices that aren't of your heritage in a respectful way and appropriating them. And I'm honestly not really sure where Ana Forrest falls on this spectrum. There are definitely some moments throughout the book that are a little bit cringeworthy in my opinion, because I think she's just a white woman doing this stuff. But like I said, I'm not sure. She might actually be Indigenous. And also, even if she is a white woman, if Indigenous tribes have welcomed her and let her study with them and include her as a member, then aren't they the people who get to say whether or not she's allowed to practice their traditions? So I'm pretty torn on this. I really don't have any good answer. If anyone knows any more about this, please comment below. If anyone has an opinion about this, I'd like to hear it too. I have to say, I really don't know how I feel about this book also, because she has a really specific, intense energy. And sometimes it's honestly kind of charming or appealing. Excuse me, Oliver. And other times it's kind of overwhelming and too much. I'm really glad that she narrated the audiobook, because I think that she spoke her own words in a way that made it a lot more appealing. Like I said, she's very intense. So I think that if there wasn't the right narrator when I listened to the audiobook, I would have really hated the book. She's definitely one of those people who says, and a lot of people do this in the spirituality realm in books, the person who first says, I'm not one of those woo-woo people who believes in crazy, new age, ridiculous, or, you know, unprovable things. But here is like actually what I do believe in, and it is all that stuff. It's really common, so I don't want to single her out, but she's definitely one of those people. Like, people who are not in the yoga world might hear Ana Forrest and think like, these people are crazy. She also says some things that are just a little bit medically dubious, I would say, in terms of like healing. Something that's dangerous and that I don't like about her book and her methods is that she sees taking medication as almost like a weakness. She doesn't say that specifically, but she says like, you can choose to be a victim or not, and you should be able to heal all these things without using medicine in the traditional Western sense. For instance, she says she has epilepsy, but she won't take medication for it. And also she says she has epilepsy because she had a seizure one time and someone who happened to be around was like, you have epilepsy. And so now she's like, yeah, I have epilepsy, but I don't think she ever saw a doctor for it. It's all just very, very strange. Honestly, if she wasn't so charismatic, I would have only bad things probably to say about this book. But she's just so charismatic that I somehow kind of still like her, even though I have to say, like I said before, when I took her class, I wasn't really moved either way by her. I mean, I kind of didn't like it. It felt kind of like hokey and performative. I definitely wouldn't try to take her class ever again. It's just like a little bit much. It's just like intense. I think that her way of being would really resonate with a lot of people, and a lot of people do get into yoga because they're kind of this intense kind of person, and that intensity needs an outlet, and sometimes it becomes a negative outlet, such as abusing substances, which she talks about. And instead of that, you can channel that intensity into something positive like yoga, but I even think too much yoga is too much. Like, too much of anything is too much. So if this book resonates with you, that's great. I definitely would not say it's a must read for all people because it's really long. And like I said, it's definitely one of those books where like, if you resonate with her way of teaching and being and practicing, you will really like it. And if you don't, I don't know if much was gained personally from me reading this book. I guess I just have like a greater understanding of who she is and what her background is. And there's definitely a trigger warning for a lot of different things in this book. Sexual abuse, sexual trauma, child abuse, substance abuse, alcoholism, drug use, a lot of things. Violence, like pretty much anything you can think of. She says she experienced it. And something else that was kind of weird about the book is that when she talks about her own childhood sexual abuse and trauma, she says that she realized that she had this in her past after seeing a past lives like regression therapist. That's been proven to plant false memories in people. So while I would never say that someone's own story of what has happened to them is not to be believed, especially a woman when sexual abuse is concerned, it definitely just makes me kind of, I don't know, I guess, yeah, question her. I don't even like saying that because I want to believe women, but I'm not saying I don't believe her. But everything in this book is a little bit like, all right, I'm not sure. None of this is corroborated by like doctors or I don't know. It's just, I think that aspect of this book might really frustrate some people. I wouldn't really give this book a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's just kind of neutral for me. Let me know what you think if you've read it, if you're an avid practitioner of Forrest Yoga, or if you consider Ana Forrest one of your teachers. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll talk to you again soon.